everyone, it's Paul Ward here, and welcome to another edition of Farm Talk. Today we are so excited to have Rick Schroeder, the president of Many Mansions. And as you may know, my team is teamed up with Many Mansions in some ways, in making contributions for every sale that we do. And so, Mr. Schroeder, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for inviting me. It gives me great pleasure to talk to you and to your audience about Many Mansions.
Great. What is the mission of Many Mansions for those that don't know?
Yeah, Many Mansions is a nonprofit. We were founded 41 years ago, 1979. And we actually have two missions. Our primary mission is to provide affordable housing to those in our community most in need. And then the second mission is to provide essential life-enriching services for those residents. So there's really two components of the mission. One is to provide the housing, and then two, a social service component is to provide services for those residents.
Okay. And I saw in your mission statement that there was talk of anti-discrimination as well. I know there's a lot of discrimination in real estate, having been in the industry for 18 years. Maybe you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, unfortunately, real estate does have a history of that. Our housing is open for all. Mm-hmm. We make a real point for that. The people that live with us, so when we develop housing, so we're developing the housing by building new apartment complexes or by buying existing apartments and then renovating them. But then it is and then our population that will be living in that housing are those in the community, usually that are low income, extremely low income, very low income, mm-hmm. homeless, seniors, mm-hmm. whatever. Mm-hmm. We make a very point that the housing is open for all. Mm-hmm. So there's no types of discrimination. There's no profiling. Right. Anyone that needs the housing that qualifies for it can live with us. And we have quite a diverse group of residents living with us.
And where do you find your residents?
We find our residents all over. Most of our housing that we have developed is in Ventura County. Not exclusively, but mostly. And we've developed over 20 properties, rental properties in Ventura County for over 634 units of housing. We maintain a waiting list. Sometimes we joint venture our developments with the Area Housing Authority of Ventura County or the Housing Authority of Oxnard or some other government agency. But we draw from the waiting list, and almost everybody on the waiting list comes from Ventura County, from mm-hmm. all walks of life. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, over the years, our waiting list has grown to over 3,000 households.
Wow.
And we had to close the waiting list, unfortunately, because it was just too large.
Right.
But it's a very diverse set of people that are interested in housing, that need the housing, that have not been able to find housing, or at least decent housing. Mm-hmm. So it really comes all over. But most of our Ventura County properties are populated with people from Ventura County.
Mm-hmm. And how many units do you have?
As I said, we have ownership interest in about 640 units of housing. Mm-hmm. Many Mansions actively manages, we also manage the housing, 16 of those properties.
Okay.
Over 540 some units of housing. Mm-hmm. So
I've had an opportunity to tour the Oxnard facility, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's not what you would typically think of as homeless housing. It's Spanish architecture and beautiful grounds and vegetable gardens and an education center. I mean, there's a lot, playground, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that distinguishes Many Mansions. We're not just an organization that's going to build housing and leave. Mm-hmm. We're going to build the housing. We're going to work closely with the community mm-hmm. on the housing, on its design, where it's located, who's going to be in it, and then manage the housing and own the housing as a community asset for 30, 40, 50 years. So it's very important that we have a great design, that it's well built, it has all the energy saving features, water saving features, that it's efficient, but it also provides some dignity for our residents. So the property that you had toured is our Ormond Beach Villas property in Oxnard. That's 40 units of housing, brand new housing, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom housing, set out in 5 buildings with a community space. And that is all for veterans. Housing for low income, extremely low income veterans.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, everyone is a veteran, and about half of those units are reserved for veterans that actually were homeless.
Okay.
So you have to be a veteran, you have to be extremely low income, and half the units you also had to be homeless. And when we came, when we were developing the housing, we were shocked by the statistics that showed so many of our veterans, or so much of our homeless population, actually were veterans. And we wanted to do something about that.
Now, one of the gentlemen that I met there, actually, he told me how he was living in his van. And now that he has a house, he's actually able to actually live with his daughter. I think he might have even been living in his van with his daughter. And so he was just extremely grateful for, the opportunity to live there. I knew that he was one of the lucky ones.
Sometimes we don't fully appreciate the importance of housing, but we see that a lot. Without stable housing, it's difficult to obtain or retain a job. Often families get separated because you don't have the housing. So we've brought families back together. Some people that have other medical challenges, they can get the proper services because they now have stable housing, a place to go. And it's something that our residents can really live and thrive once you've, have them in a place that they can afford.
Right.
All of the residents that we have pay rent. This is not free housing. People pay. They pay generally a percentage of their income toward that housing, so they can live in dignity. But then they can build from there. They can get reintegrated into the community, into the workforce, develop their life skills, become really active and productive members of our community.
And there's an education center there too. I saw that kids had workstations with computers, and they might not even have a computer in the house, but there were education centers and
and that's a big part of many mansions, because the housing, while it's important, it's really only the first step.
Right.
Too often, residents who just receive housing, especially those that have been homeless, slip back into homelessness. So at all of our new complexes, we have community buildings, community centers, where we provide a variety of programs for our residents. So for the children, we have active education programs. We have a homework club where the kids come after school with staff and volunteers and work on their homework, computer access, projects, different things like that. During the summertime, there's a summer camp program. We just gave out backpacks to all of our 350 resident youth that are going back to school. Backpacks with school supplies, they get that. So we try to do what we can for the youth because we know that we want to break that cycle of poverty. We see generations of people that are poor, generations of families, and we feel that if we can help the children stay in school, thrive in school. We have a scholarship program. We gave out over 20 scholarships so our graduating youth can go on to higher education. We feel that's one way that we can break the cycle of poverty and open up opportunities. Same time, we do provide programs for our adults, especially our adults that had been homeless. So like I mentioned, at Ormond Beach Villas, we have a case manager that works with the residents on job development, maybe life skills, maybe addiction counseling, financial counseling, lots of different ways that a resident can really improve their lives and improve their income and just improve their opportunities that they have to live.
Mm-hmm. What are the expansion plans for many mansions in Ventura County?
Yeah, we have more active affordable housing development ongoing projects than we ever have in our history. We're currently in construction on a project called Summit View, which is in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
It is 49 units exclusively for veterans, again, veterans that are homeless.
Oh, wow.
So that we've been in construction since the beginning of this year. And even through COVID-19, you know, our contractors are out there working.
Right.
And we expect that project, that property to be open sometime in mid-2021. We're about to begin construction in Fillmore.
Oh, really?
A project that we call Mountain View. That's 79 units of family housing,
Mm-hmm.
housing for low-income families.
Mm-hmm.
Again, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, a big community space that we will have children's educational programs for the adults. That should start construction in October. We also have another property that's going toward construction next spring, hopefully in March or April, called Sun King. That's also in Los Angeles, 29 units, and that is for families that were chronically homeless. So families
Mm-hmm.
that were homeless for more than 1 year.
Wow.
And we're working with the Los Angeles School District on that project because they noticed, this is in Sun Valley,
Right.
a lot of their, I think almost half, 40%, I believe, of their elementary school kids have experienced homelessness.
Wow, that's incredible.
And I mean, you can imagine being homeless is really extremely difficult, but as a child that has to go to school, it's very, very difficult. So the feature of this particular property is that the apartment complex is going to be really literally next to the elementary school.
Okay.
So there'll be a close association with the elementary school and the middle school. And so 29 families. So we hope to start construction next spring on that. But we have other potential projects that we're working on in Oxnard, downtown Oxnard, in Camarillo, outside of Camarillo.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our properties are supportive. Most of our projects will be supportive housing, housing for individuals or families that have experienced homelessness, some veterans, other special needs considerations. So yeah, we are expanding and yeah, real estate development takes a long time.
It does. It's
property. I mean, the Ormond
process.
Beach property in Oxnard, by the time it opened, we actually first looked at that site and put an offer to purchase that land 6 years prior to that. So it took 6 years.
That's a long time.
And we've, you know, that's not unusual at all.
Yep.
Not unusual.
Yep. How can folks get more involved in many mansions?
Lots of different ways. You know, we unfortunately, well, volunteers are really important for many mansions.
Mm-hmm.
In most of our programs with the residents, the children especially, we use many, many volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
We use volunteers for our special events. We use volunteers here at the main office. We'd have service projects where volunteer groups get together and, you know, help beautify one of our properties, painting, whatever. Unfortunately, because of the social distancing requirements, we've kind of cut back on our volunteer opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
But so those that want to volunteer or those that just want to learn more, you know, please look at our website, our Facebook page, Instagram. We're hoping that our volunteer programs will be able to reintroduce them in the new year. That's what we're hoping.
Is that manymansions.com?
It's manymansions.org.
O-R-G.
Because we're a nonprofit, it's manymansions.org. And especially our Facebook, if you look onto our Facebook, we're posting different things that happen every day with our residents, with donations. Obviously donations, we get a lot of in-kind donations. I mentioned that all the backpacks and school supplies that we gave out to our 350 youth, that all came from the community. That came from donations by groups and individuals that purchased those items. So we're always looking for in-kind donations, monetary donations, sometimes just political support. You know, when we have a new property that we want to propose, we almost always have to get approval by the local jurisdiction, by the city council or the planning commission, and they're looking for community support. I mean, does the community support this? And sometimes we just need our supporters to give their voice and say, yes, we want more affordable housing in our community because we think it's important. So that sometimes is the most important way that someone can support us.
Great. Well, hey, Mr. Schroeder, I appreciate your time and filling us in more about Many Mansions, and hopefully our listeners learned a little bit today, and it's greatly appreciated. So thank you for coming on the show.
Well, Paul, thank you, and thank you for doing what you do. And again, if anybody is interested in Many Mansions, certainly look at our website. They can always email me, rick@manymansions.org. Be happy to provide more information. One of the things that we do, again, once the social distancing restrictions are lifted, is we give tours of our properties.
That'd be
And
great.
that's sometimes one of the best way to really learn more about Many Mansions. You visited a property. I think people that come and look at our affordable housing properties do sometimes have some misconceptions. But once they see them, they see what a beautiful set of buildings they are, how well maintained they are, the people that live there, how they maintain them themselves. And it's something that I think more communities would welcome.
Yeah, I would say the facility that I toured was actually the nicest building in the block. I mean, it was.
Well, you know, it's funny. I used to tell people that for our properties that you could not tell the difference between one of our properties and a neighboring property. But that actually isn't true.
Right.
Our properties are nicer.
They are nicer.
They're cleaner, they're quieter, they're well maintained. Yes, absolutely.
Yep. So I think they actually bring the values of the neighborhood up.
They do. They really do. Again, but sometimes the communities are unfamiliar. So I thank you for your effort to kind of bringing some of this information to people that might not be, that know much about affordable housing. And it's something that I think is important for people to learn more, and the role that it can play in a community and the benefit that it can play. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much.
Good. Well, thank you.
All right.